there, welcome to Everyday Moodlings. I'm your host today, Jeree Parks, and in this video I'm going to show you how to resize a stamp to fit your particular project. So this piece that you see on my desk right now, what I did, I showed in a post earlier this week for our crafty challenge, which was home, because while we were away on vacation, I always feel a little bit drawn to home after a few days. So I talked more about that in my blog post, but one of the things I wanted to show you is how I made this piece right here. In the last video we talked about surfaces, but in this one, like I said, I wanted to show you how I made this piece because it started out like this. This is one of the Delusions. I think it's called Funky Houses stamps. I'm not really sure. Anyway, it's a really fun house, and that's kind of the feeling I was going for, because our home is not perfect. Our house is not perfect, but it's still our home. So it reminded me of these funky little stamps, but it was not the right size for my project. So I had to scale it up a bit. You could also, in this process, scale it back down. Say if I wanted to use a stamp like one of the Prima dolls on a regular shipping tag. Let's see if I have one here that looks like this. It's kind of too big for it. So you could also shrink it down to make it fit, but I'm going to show you how to resize it and then transfer it to your project. Okay, to accomplish our goals, what are you going to need? Well, one, you're going to need a stamp, and I recommend a stamp that is mostly just an outline stamp without too many details on it. The more detailed, the harder it would be to transfer the image. So I like just a basic outline stamp. This one actually has a little text on it as well, but we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to go ahead and try to transfer the text. Just kind of the outline, the circles, the squares. Now, I did look at this one after I blew it up and thought, I probably could have hand drawn that, but I'm not all that good at drawing, so I'll do it this way instead. Some of the other images that I've done, like the people or flowers, it's really much harder to do that with, so it's easier for me just to transfer the image. I'm using a stamp. You could also use like a color book page that you find online. Something along that line would work really well. You're going to need whatever surface you're going to transfer it to. This is a Strathmore visual journal. This is watercolor paper, and then we're also going to use something called tracing or graphite paper, and it's rolled up in here, and you can cut it down to size, which is what I'll be doing. And basically what it is it's just graphite on there. It's like the pencil basically has been rubbed on here, and we're going to use that to transfer our image in just a moment. To begin this, you're going to go ahead and just stamp it on a regular piece of paper. This is just copy paper, and then I cut it down to size. And then, the last thing you're going to need obviously is a computer, or in my case I used my printer, which has a copier with it. Then I take this little piece and I put it in my copier and I resize it. I did it at 300%. You can also, if you don't have a copier with your printer, and you do have a scanner, but chances are if you have a scanner, you also have a copier. You can also scan it into your computer and put it into Word and then resize it from there and print it out. So the advantage to scanning it in is you can kind of get a better idea of what size it's going to be before you print it back out. So through the power of television or video, here is my final piece. And again, I think I ended up going about 325 is what I did. So we're going to go ahead. Now you can use graphite paper and over again. And I am going to tape it down just a little bit What you want to try to do is, be sure not to do is when you put it down on the paper, you don't want to like move it around because it will leave basically graphite dust onto your work. I just want to make sure it's not going to move on me. And then you're going to lay your actual piece wherever you want it. Now in this case, I might cut this out later, or this might be part of a art journaling page. I tend to cut most of my pieces out, mostly because I'm not really an art journaler, so that's not really something that I am going for. I'm usually looking to cut a piece out and layer it onto other mixed media pieces. You could actually also cut it out to layer it onto an art journaling page. So I am just using a pointed tool. This is one of those tools that comes with like rub-ons. You can also use a blunt, like a pencil, and I am just gonna come across here. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna tape this down too so I don't accidentally move it as I go through the process. Like I just did right there. And you're gonna work around your entire piece. Don't worry too much if you're not exact. These are basically pencil lines that we'll be erasing later or covering up with a pen. Trace, I already went ahead and removed my graphite paper. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to make a mess with it. And then all you do is remove your picture. And this is what you are left with. Now I did smudge it a little bit at the very beginning, but you can come back in and gently erase most of that. Now, obviously these are pencil lines. So I want to go back with a Sharpie or other waterproof pen because I want to color this, and I'm going to fill it in. Now this particular image has a really kind of sketchy look to it. So I'm going to kind of keep with that theme and give it a sketchy look. The first go around, I'll just kind of trace it, and then I'll go back in and add in some extra sketch. So I got all my sketching done, and I actually added some little swirls to those circles, which I would not have been able to do on the original stamped image, at least not very easily. So blowing it up a little bit bigger does allow for some advantages. Now I'm just going to go back through here and gently erase any of the pencil marks that I didn't cover with the Sharpie. Okay, now we're ready to color and decorate and all that good fun stuff. I'm going to keep it pretty simple today, but as the page or the piece develops, I can always go back in and add more texture or stamping or whatever color, whatever I want to do. I'm going to be using some Lyra watercolor crayons for this particular piece. Done. I always find that to be quite relaxing, except it is kind of hard to do it while I'm filming it because I want to put my head directly over the top of the image, which wouldn't be very effective unless you wanted to see the back of my head. So it's a little bit more difficult or challenging to get it done that way. Now I did wet my paper just a little bit, but as it dries, it'll smooth back out again. Now at this point, I could cut it out, or I could leave it in here and make a bigger art journaling page around it. Lots of different options in there. One of the things I like to do, obviously, is go back and add some extra texture with some stamps. But it's still wet, so I'm going to go ahead and let it dry before I start down that path. So anyway, that's how you take a small stamp and resize it to fit a larger project. So if you ever struggle with using stamps in your art journaling pages or on a larger project because your stamps are all really small like mine, they're meant for cards and tag art and things along that nature. I don't have stamps this big, and good gracious, if I did, where would I keep them? So this allows you to get a lot more versatility out of your stamps. If you have any questions about anything I did here, please be sure to let me know. I'm always happy to help. And until next time, I'm Drury Parks with Everyday Moodlings.